out. It's my comfort zone. It's my job now.
And the man to whom Innocentia says she owes her life is Axel Janssens, a top chef from Belgium who, together with his cousin, set up Onsia House.
A lot of them is actually people that we take from the street and that we train during a minimum of 3 years in our kitchen. 80% of the trainees are making it. I am super proud of them. 2 years ago I had back surgery and I couldn't be here for 2-3 months, and they kept the place fully alive and beautiful.
Axel is known as the Flying Chef because not only does he cook for the restaurant, he's also flown around Africa cooking in unusual places for billionaires. And he takes his deputy, Baraka, who grew up on the streets, with him. Out in the car park, Baraka is preparing a huge trailer to drive to the middle of the bush and cook for 13 people. He told me about an earlier trip to the top of Kilimanjaro, to which he took 80 people to help carry the equipment.
We cooked lobster on top of Kilimanjaro. Can you imagine that?
Lobster?
Lobster, yeah. We baked lobster there. Even the pizza we baked in the Kilimanjaro. We have our technique to make our oven ourselves. Yeah.
So how do you feel about your life now? Because before, is this your truck you are going? Yeah. Oh my God, there's a lot of smoke coming out the back.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel very good because now I have my own family. Now I have my house. I have children. I have two children. Now they are in good school.
So is it like a dream?
Yeah, it's not like my dream comes true. It's big step now.
Rachel Wright was reporting from Arusha. Now for Kiribati, or Egypt. Kiribati is an island nation in the central Pacific Ocean, and a few days ago its X-account, or more accurately what looks like its X-account, went viral. Follower numbers for @Kiribati.gov went from a few hundred to thousands after it quoted another user who had made fun of Kiribati place names like London, Paris, Poland and Banana with "Fine, you're not invited." With further playful posts, and it looks like a big social media win for Kiribati tourism. Except it isn't official. The person who responded when we contacted the account was a man who says he was born in Kiribati but now lives in the US.
My name is Gaber Nyasi, and this is my second time, I guess, impersonating the government of my homeland, the Republic of Kiribati. I noticed that there was never a active Twitter presence, and I just took it upon myself to pretty much copy and paste everything that they were doing on Facebook. And then Twitter shut it down, and then I started another account November of last year. And I'm assuming you probably saw the viral posts, and that's how everything blew up. So I did have a little fun with it. I was constantly retweeting any articles or any posts that were either informative or positive. I started responding kind of fastly or a little bit of snark when I thought I could kind of get away with it. Never really to make it go huge and viral like this. This was very unintentional. It was a late night post for me. Kind of just a throwaway. It's all in good fun. It's all, as somebody coined recently, killer banter. My people are definitely known for being mischievous and tricking each other, but never in mean spirits. And even if the hammer falls and it all goes away, I would like to ultimately think that a little bit of positive exposure brought to my own country made it well worth it. And at the very least, it makes for great stories.
To be clear, we are not condoning catfishing. We did try to get a comment from the Kiribati government, but as we record this podcast, we haven't heard back yet. And that's it from us for now. Remember, if you'd like to be part of the Happy Pod, we would love to hear from you. The address, as ever, is globalpodcast@bbc.co.uk. This edition was mixed by Alicia Thirsting. The producer was Anna Murphy. Our editor is Karen Martin. I'm Jackie Leonard, and until next time, goodbye.
This is the BBC World Service in conversation with Anne Patchett about her book, The Dutch House.
I wonder to what extent traditional fairy tales informed either the setting or the evil stepmother.
I don't think I'm going to write a book with a Hansel and Gretel theme. I get to the end, and then I think, oh, look, they're Hansel and Gretel.
World Book Club, Saturday at 12 GMT. In 30 minutes, High Science.
This week we're asking, what's the point of wisdom teeth? Lots of us have painful problems with this extra set of molars, and millions of people have them taken out every year. But is it better to leave them in? And why do we have them in the first place?
The newsroom is next. This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
At 2 o'clock GMT, this is the newsroom with Nigel Adderley. Supporters of the former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro thronged the streets of Sao Paulo as he denied allegations of an attempted coup. Also coming up, as Ukraine say 31,000 troops have died in the Russian conflict, we hear from those who've escaped the fighting.
The sound of missiles gives me goosebumps. It's like a loud whistle and then a blast. It gets closer and louder and louder. It's extremely frightening.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims their military activity in southern Gaza won't depend on the success of any ceasefire. We have analysis from the region.
If a ceasefire can hold for as many as 6 weeks, and we see the steady return of the remaining Israeli hostages, will there really be an appetite to go back to war when that is over?
And an exhibition of Yoko Ono's work opens here in London. This is the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. Tens of thousands of supporters of Jair Bolsonaro have taken part in a rally in Sao Paulo, where the former Brazilian president denied plotting a coup to stay in power. Mr. Bolsonaro said he had been the victim of tireless political persecution since leaving office just over a year ago. Our correspondent Ione Wells was at that rally.
The former President Bolsonaro is under investigation into whether he incited thousands of his followers last year to storm the presidential palace, Supreme Court and Congress, calling for the election results to be overturned and for the military to take over. He used his speech today to call the allegations a conspiracy and to deny there was an attempted coup. He also called for an amnesty for all his supporters who were arrested and put in prison last year for vandalizing and looting the government buildings. Mr. Bolsonaro, however, was careful not to directly criticize the Supreme Court or Brazilian institutions, as anything suggesting incitement against them could land him in further trouble.
President Volodymyr Zelensky has said 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in 2 years of war with Russia. Ukrainian officials rarely discuss casualty figures, but Mr. Zelensky said he wanted to counter inflated claims by Russia. Mr. Zelensky said Ukraine's chances of victory depended on continued support from the West. The former U.S. ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker, told the BBC that Russia will not stop unless that happens.
Ending the war now is the best thing, but the only way to end the war is for Russia to stop its attacks and pull back. And Russia doesn't want to do that if they think they can continue to gain territory, so they continue to attack. So the way to stop the war and the way to prevent future wars is to give Ukraine the means to defend itself and to convince Russia that it cannot win.
The Afghan Journalist Center says the Taliban authorities in the southeastern Khost province have banned girls from making phone calls to radio and TV stations. And Barasanati Rajan explains.
The Afghan Journalists Organization said in a letter sent to media outlets, a local Taliban police chief had warned that some private radio stations were promoting moral corruption by broadcasting school lessons or social programs involving girls. The letter said that media officials would be summoned or prosecuted if they allowed girls to take part in the program. Since seizing power in 2021, the de facto Afghan rulers have imposed several restrictions on women and girls, including refusing to allow the reopening of secondary schools for girls.
An armed attack on a Catholic church in Burkina Faso has left at least 15 people dead. Church leaders say gunmen opened fire on the congregation during Sunday Mass in the northern village of Ezakan. World News from the BBC. Local authorities in Washington say a serving member of the military set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy in the U.S. Capitol on Sunday. A spokeswoman for the U.S. Air Force confirmed that the incident involved an active duty airman, but declined to say whether the incident was a form of protest. Tuvalu's former Attorney General, Felity Teo, has been selected as Prime Minister of the Pacific Islands nation. Last month's general election was watched closely by Taiwan, China, the U.S., and Australia. It saw the former Prime Minister Casio Natano, who backed relations with Taipei, lose his seat. An international group of scientists has launched a second expedition to explore an underwater mountain chain that extends from mainland Chile to Easter Island. It comes days after they completed a mission that discovered more than 100 new species. Here's Leonardo Russia.
The first expedition used robots to map a vast seafloor area and document the new species. It was organized by the Schmidt Ocean Institute and led by scientists from Chile's Universidad Católica del Norte. They published online pictures and videos of deep sea corals, squat lobsters, and glass sponges that have never been seen before. The second mission aims to go even deeper, collecting samples from 4,000 meters below sea level. One of the scientists, Carlos Gaimer, told the BBC the aim is to ban fishing in the area and create a protected marine area along the Salas y Gomez Ridge.
Peter Morgan, the lead singer of the reggae band Morgan Heritage, has died. He was 46. A statement published by the band on social media said he had passed away on Sunday. Critics often describe them as one of the biggest families in reggae and have helped to popularize the genre to a more diverse fan base. BBC World News.
2:06 GMT, you're listening to the newsroom from the BBC World Service with me, Nigel Adler. It's been just over a year since Jair Bolsonaro lost the Brazilian election and left office, but he's remained a constant presence on the country's political scene. The former president is accused of plotting a coup to stay in power after he spread doubts about the electoral system, and his frustrated supporters stormed Congress. Mr. Bolsonaro has denied the allegations. At a rally in Sao Paulo on Sunday, in front of tens of thousands of his supporters, he described himself as a victim of tireless persecution. He said it was time to forget the past. But his words were measured, as he's under investigation.
I would have a lot more to say. Some people know as much as I do. But what I'm looking for now is peace. I'm trying to find ways of putting the past behind so that we can all live in peace.
Our correspondent Ione Wells was there.
When we arrived in the centre of the city, there was huge crowds that had turned up, very distinctive because they were all wearing green and yellow, the colours of Brazil as he had instructed them to do. Many were also carrying big flags with photographs of his face and slogans in support. So